Hello and welcome to the What's Current podcast, where we discuss all things electrical. On the show today we have myself, Andrew Duffen, Technical Commercial Engineer at NAPIT, and we're also joined by Simon Ackrill. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks mate, how are you?
So not too bad. So Simon is a Technical Helpline Officer at NAPIT, and hopefully we'll have some good discussions today.
Yeah,
Right,
looking forward to it.
So I think that the first question, Simon, if you don't mind, just give us an overall of your background and how you ended up being a technical helpline officer at NAPIT.
Yeah, so started off, left school at 16, straight into an electrical apprenticeship. Majority of my career sort of been more on the commercial industrial side. Worked on some pretty decent sized projects, worked down on the Olympic Park and things like that. So it was
that was interesting.
Yeah, really good good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing all that go from nothing to the big park, and so I've worked for I did my apprenticeship worked for two different firms.
Okay.
First one unfortunately went under after when I was a first year apprentice. So
Nightmare.
yeah, so moved over to another firm, and then stayed there for a good 10 years. Moved out sort of subcontracting again, predominantly commercial industrial stuff, and then later on moved into did a couple of years doing more domestic work.
Okay, yeah. How did you find doing the domestic work? Was it
Definitely a different
compared for your background of being in commercial, industrial, then going to domestic?
It's definitely a different skill set.
Yes,
definitely. But it was nice to do that different type of work.
And was that for yourself? Were you doing that, or was that for
mainly as a subcontractor, to be honest? I just ended up working for a couple of guys. Was that
like rewires, I'm guessing?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and then ended up doing a bit of sort of PV work with them.
Okay.
So it was pretty.
How did you find the PV work? Was it interesting?
Yeah. I went from never touching it to sort of learning the ropes. So it was good.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's working in industrial and commercial, and then going into domestic, and then this renewable sector is definitely a total career change.
That's
isn't
it. Yeah, absolutely.
And were the property people living in them, I'm guessing?
Yeah, so I did a lot of social housing work, and they were all occupied, and on the rewires, predominantly empty, but
was that you or the send up in the loft were like?
Unfortunately, until we got the apprentices in.
Yeah, it's usually what happens. Thanks for giving us the background. And how did you go from you being in the domestic setting then to come to NAPIT? How did that fall about?
Totally honest, it was more just an accident, really. I just wanted to make the move off the tools. Started looking around, sort of exploring that, and then.
What sort of age was you when you were thinking that?
So mid-30s.
Yeah.
I wanted, got a young family, so I thought I eventually want to move off the tools. So started to explore it and stumbled across the job advert for this.
I like the word stumble.
Yeah,
it's usually how it happens sometimes.
That's it. Yeah, and thought it's probably never something I imagined moving into, but. Yeah, it was a good decision, really.
Yeah, are you enjoying it then?
Yeah, it's great.
Great stuff. So, in your role as a technical helpline officer at NAPIT, what sort of help or support do you provide electricians or members?
The members will phone us in. It's a mixture of things, varies from sort of interpreting the regulations to advice on actual installs. We'll get a lot, because obviously all of us on the line are all electricians, so we can
relate to them.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to put yourself in that scenario, but I
imagine you've got to imagine what they're at, and they're on the phone, and you've got to imagine what they're in this house or they're in this outbuilding or whatever they're doing, and go, what's it look like? What's the picture? And they're trying to describe it to you as well.
And a lot of the time, it's not even someone ringing up saying, "Oh, what do I do here?" or "How do I do it?" It's a lot of the time just a chat, just to bounce ideas off.
Well, I think in the modern world now, I mean, we've all probably worked as part of a team,
Yeah.
where you might have that luxury where you're on site and you may come across something you're not too familiar with or unsure how to approach, and you can bounce off the ideas off electricians that are working there. But a lot of members might be working on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. We get that a lot. They'll ring up and say, "Oh, I'm out here on my own. I've got no one to run it by," and so.
And that's perfect that we offer that support
Yeah,
to them.
Big part of what we're here for, really.
I suppose. So, how many average calls do you get a day? Like, is there quite a lot of calls?
So, across the team, we probably get, on an average day, you're looking around 100 to 120 calls.
It's a lot of calls, isn't it? And I bet they all vary, the calls, don't they?
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. It's weird sometimes. You will get an influx of the same topic, and then but then you never know what's coming in.
I suppose that brings us on onto the next question. Really, what's the most common query you receive on the helpline, and what advice do you find giving yourself most often? I've got a funny idea. I know what it may end up as.
Yeah, so the two big ones really we get. Earthing and bonding will sort of comes part and parcel together.
And what is it with earthing and bonding? What sort of queries is it?
A lot of it, especially nowadays, with the way obviously the things are constructed, it's, do I need to bond this? I've got a PVC incomer. Right. Do I need to bond this? How do I know if I need to bond it? And
is it sizing of the conductors as well?
Yeah, we get a lot. Yeah, we get a lot of that. We're limited on what we can. We'll always say to people, we can't size something for you necessarily, but we can help you get there. We can, if you say, this is what I've worked out, can we verify? And we'll do it and see if we.
Exactly. Obviously using the wire regs, BS767, and appropriate tables.
That's it. Yeah. So, and that's another thing that, because we're sat here, we've got all these books in front of us. We're in the books a lot more than your sort of average guy on site.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're just helping them navigate the book a bit better.
Of course. I mean, having working knowledge of the book is a difference. Having in-depth knowledge of the book, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. When I was on the tools, I wasn't in the regs anywhere near as much as I am doing this role. So.
Well, you wouldn't expect to be, would you? Because your day-to-day job is to install, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So.
And then you said earthing and bonding is usually a hot topic if you want to use it. What's the next hot topic?
So then generally it's EICR coding.
Right.
Just people saying, wanting a bit of sort of reassurance of, this is what I've coded something, do you agree, do you disagree? Again, it can be difficult because they can be so very subjective, but it's good to have you can chat through it and
help them come to an engineering judgment on it.
Exactly.
Because ultimately it is their engineering judgment, isn't it? We can only provide support on. We're not going to code for people, are we?
Exactly that. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the time, I'll have a different opinion maybe to the guys on the phone,
really?
but I will. We can have a chat and you can go, well, actually, no, I can see your justification. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
On there, I suppose most people sort of know what a C1 is generally. That's pretty obvious, we would say. It's more probably the grey area of the C2, C3 fall into.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I say, I don't think a lot of the times it's difficult to be wrong because, as we say, it is an opinion and it's you're using your experience.
Yeah, every installation will have a different scenario to
Absolutely.
it. And as you said, you're not there on site to actually visualise it. You're going off a picture of someone's painting for you over a phone, which can be difficult as well.
That's it, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, that's really interesting. So earthing and bonding, and generally coding.
Whenever we look at the sort of we record what calls come in so we can see any trends and those earthing and bonding and the ICRs are always the
popular ones on there. So you just mentioned trends there. So have you noticed any recent trends or types of issues installers are facing, especially with regulation changes or industrial changes that we're facing?
So yeah, it's any time a new publication or document gets released, it will instantly see a spike in.
So I think so. Next year you'll be very busy. We're thinking.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Full disclaimer: if people didn't know, obviously Amendment 4 is going to be coming out.
Yeah,
next
absolutely.
year at some point.
We had a bit of a spike in calls when the draft for public comment got released. So
Was that the same scenario when Amendment 3 came out? Because it was only a small amendment, wasn't it?
yeah, we had a lot of people ringing up then. Not, I suppose I think quite a few didn't realise it was only a small amendment.
Yeah.
So just clarifying that, or is it just the these two regulations?
It's just a download, wasn't it? And
That's
it's bolted into the actual reg book, wasn't it? Bi-directional devices.
But yeah, and you know, for instance, the last energy storage code of practice was probably the last code of practice that came out, I think.
Right.
Suddenly, every call's energy storage for a few days.
Yeah.
So.
It does make sense though, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
New publication. Probably our members, it's understanding the publication.
Yeah.
You know, obviously CPD would do that, and it's
Yeah.
having that time to be able to do that. But technical helpline is there to support them as well, isn't it? If they don't
That's
quite
it.
understand
Yeah. So that obviously when they come out, that's what we've got to do. We've got to try and get on top of.
Yeah, you've got to know it as
Yeah.
well, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got to get reading it and.
In-depth knowledge of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That can be tricky as well for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Because it, you know, some things are, you know, it's an interpretation, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's
yeah. I suppose then, moving on, what would be some of the biggest misconceptions or misunderstanding about electrical appliance and safety you encounter in your role?
I guess a lot of it's going to be around EICRs,
Right.
particularly private rented sector. There's a lot of we get must be multiple a week calls. You know, oh, I'm being told I've got to provide a EICR that says the word satisfactory on, which isn't necessarily the case.
No.
But there's particularly from landlords, letting agents.
There's a lot of pressure on members to make, we can't, to get them satisfactory.
Yeah, that's it.
When they could be facing C1s or C2s out.
Yeah, that's
in the insulation.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get a lot of misconception there. And going back to what we said before, I think misconceptions on the fact that EICRs aren't necessarily black and white.
Yeah. I think
codings.
Do you think that is more a conversation to have with the client, that they understand what the so from the electrician's point of view, before they even do the inspection and testing, is it a conversation that they need to have with the client to be aware this is a C1, this is a C2, this is a C3 and this is our FI, and the implications of those codings?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a sensible idea that, so you can, so they're not sort of blindsided when the report comes in as to what does this mean?
Yeah, because a lot of times you might have to put an FI on because if you've got lots of downlighters or you're doing your sampling and you're finding issues, as doing the inspection, you may have only allocated a certain period of time to do that inspection.
Yeah.
And then you now need more time, and obviously there's going to have to be a conversation with the customer, the client, about how that's approached.
Yeah, and I think the more open you are with the client at the beginning, it's going to make life easier.
Yeah, I think the client's got to be aware. I always try, when I was doing them, to say, look, we all have an MOT on our cars every year, and we've had countless conversations where we go, oh, it's bound to fail on something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bound to fail. You sort of, especially if you've got an older car, so to speak. If you've got a more newer car, you're thinking it should go through quite. If you've got a car that may be 10, 20 years old, you've got, it's got a lot of mileage on it, X, Y, Z. It's the same with our electrical installations, but no one seems to think that they can have issues with them.
Certainly older installations, it's going to be very rare that you're going to find nothing to code.
Totally through sampling as well.
Yeah.
I think sampling for me is another conversation, isn't it? How much to sample? That's a
and that should obviously be discussed before the report's undertaken, absolutely.
And explaining to the client that, I might be sampling 25% for argument's sake, but if I find
Yeah.
something, I'm going to have to increase that to 50 and
Yeah.
so on and so on. I think they've got to be aware of that. I think that's key.
Yeah, I think another one that often gets, there's a misconception again around the ICRs, is on the next inspection date.
Right.
I think what a lot of people don't realise is, again, that is the judgment of the inspector.
Yeah.
It's not a
It's
set value.
Yeah, I always remember people going, it's 5 years
Yeah.
or 10 years and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
That's obviously a maximum, not
Yeah.
not a guarantee.
And so what sort of advice would you give in that area then, is what you find?
Yeah, so we'll generally say if you've got, maybe you're getting, for instance, insulation resistance values that are compliant, but on the low side.
Just getting over that 1 meg ohm threshold.
That's it, yeah. Maybe consider reducing that next inspection date, because there's obviously the cable's obviously deteriorating, and it could, especially if it's not a rental property, if it was a standard domestic property, it can be up to 10 years. It's a long time for...
Yeah, in a domestic setting, I think in our commercial settings, especially, I used to find when you're doing your testing, especially when you agreed sampling what circuits you would test, I know testing companies used to put stickers on the breakers, you see, so they know what circuits are tested, and when they come back, they do sampling on other circuits.
Yeah, for the company I did my apprenticeship with, that's how they operate.
Yeah, because then you got to test 100% of the board over a frequency of a period, isn't it? You say a bit difficult to do in a domestic setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should be testing all circuits and sampling to a certain degree. Okay, then, so we're going to come on to renewables and EVs, solar and batteries. Obviously, it's a new sector, so to speak, now, and I imagine a lot of our members are out there installing it. Has that changed the sort of calls you get on the helpline, inquiries you get?
They've definitely increased, though, even over the time I've been here. There's definitely been a steady sort of incline in the frequency of them. A lot of guys, I think, are seeing it as an opportunity to expand their businesses. And
yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's a great sector to get into.
Yeah.
Very competitive. We'll probably hear about prices and so on, competitive market. But again, I suppose, what sort of common queries might you get with those sort of industrial settings?
So we'll get a lot on sort of the MCS requirements, interpreting them, and just obviously going back again to talking about documents being released. We had the PAS document around energy storage, so locations of batteries is a massive topic. We still get quite regularly.
Is it the query about we know it's not good practice and we're not advising people to fit them in lofts?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we would tend to advise along the lines of the guidance that it's probably not the best idea, but obviously it's a risk assessment from the installer really to
yeah, because if people weren't aware, the PAS document really says shouldn't be installed in lofts, shouldn't be installed in escape routes, where people sleep, really ideally outdoors really.
Yeah, and when you think of it logically, it probably is the safest option, isn't it?
Yeah, or if you've got a remote garage or an attached garage, not everyone has that luxury. It can be tricky.
Yeah, I think certain properties it is difficult, but I suppose the safety factor has got to come first.
And again, do people ask questions about fire alarm systems with batteries and solar and stuff like that? What sort of questions do you get on that?
So predominantly, do I need to install smoke detection? And we would always advise yes, you should be really, and we want to make sure that's interlinked if it's in
the loft space.
Certainly.
No good going off in the loft and no one else can hear it.
Yeah, you need it. Even if that's something as simple as you can get the sort of repeater units that will just so it's alarming in a room that you're gonna hear it.
A lot of them now as well. You can get wireless ones, can't you,
Yeah.
as well? So which is quite good, isn't it? Especially if you don't want to get a cable and all
Yeah,
that.
they've definitely made the RF modules in them has definitely made life a lot simpler.
And again, if you've got maybe a detached garage,
Yeah.
you would need a frequency coming in to say it's going off in the garage and it's setting off the rest in the house property. I suppose the next question would be, just in case members weren't aware, what sort of are the hours of the helpline of during the week?
So we'll be out. We're here from 8:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening, Monday to Thursday, and then on a Friday it'll be 8:30 till 4:30.
Right. So a bit shorter on the Friday.
Yeah,
Understandable, isn't it? We've all got
not as short as the hours on the tools they used to get, unfortunately.
No poets finish on a Friday, unfortunately for us. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed that, Simon. I hope you've enjoyed it.
It's been great.
I want to say thanks for coming on. I know you're a very busy person, as we've talked about with all the calls that come on. So that wraps up today's episode. A massive thank you for Simon for coming on the show. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and until next time, stay grounded and keep that current flowing.